In the deepest reaches of space, where civilizations rise and fall like waves against cosmic shores, there exists a universal truth that every species learns too late. Never underestimate a species that evolved from prey animals who learned to hunt their predators. The Zephyrian Collective had cataloged over 10,000 worlds, conquered 67 star systems, and enslaved 43 different species. Their war machine was efficient, brutal, and seemingly unstoppable. When their long-range scouts detected a small, isolated human outpost on the edge of the galaxy, they expected another easy victory, a quick strike to capture resources and test subjects. What they found instead was something that would shake the very foundation of their understanding about warfare, survival, and what it truly means to be human. This is the story of how Earth's most elite training facility taught the galaxy's most feared predators that humans don't just survive. They thrive in the darkness between the stars, turning every setback into a comeback, every defeat into a lesson, and every enemy into a stepping stone toward something greater. Some called it luck, others called it madness. But those who witnessed what happened at Outpost Omega-7 knew the truth. It was pure, undiluted human spirit unleashed upon an unsuspecting universe. The morning alarm at Outpost Omega-7 rang at precisely 500 hours, just as it had every day for the past 18 months. Commander Sarah Chen rolled out of her bunk with practiced efficiency, her feet hitting the cold metal floor of her quarters without hesitation. Outside her small window, the twin suns of the Kepler 442 system painted the rocky landscape in shades of orange and purple, creating an almost serene backdrop that belied the intensity of what lay ahead. Chen had been stationed at this remote facility for nearly 2 years, overseeing what most of the galaxy believed to be a simple mining and research operation. The official records listed Omega-7 as a mineral extraction site with a skeleton crew of 37 personnel, processing rare Earth elements from the planet's crust. Standard bureaucratic documentation showed routine supply runs, equipment maintenance logs, and the kind of mundane operational reports that would put even the most dedicated intelligence analyst to sleep. The reality was far different. As Chen made her way through the corridors toward the command center, she passed what appeared to be standard mining equipment and geological survey stations, but her trained eye caught the subtle details that would escape casual observation. The reinforced blast doors hidden behind false panels, the weapons lockers disguised as tool storage, the advanced communication arrays cleverly integrated into what looked like standard atmospheric processors. Outpost Omega-7 wasn't a mining facility. It was Earth's most classified training ground, designed to prepare humanity's elite warriors for the kinds of conflicts that official military academies couldn't even imagine. Every person on this station was either an instructor with decades of combat experience across multiple theaters of war, or a trainee who had already proven themselves exceptional in conventional military operations. The trainees came from every branch of Earth's military forces. Former Navy SEALs worked alongside ex-Spetsnaz operatives. Delta Force veterans trained with members of the British SAS, Israeli Shayetet 13, and Japan's Special Forces Group. But this wasn't just about combining different human military traditions. The program at Omega-7 was specifically designed to prepare Earth's warriors for something much bigger, eventual contact with hostile alien civilizations. Chen entered the command center to find Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Webb already reviewing the morning intelligence reports. Webb was a 45-year-old veteran of the Mars colonial wars and the Europa mining conflicts, his weathered face bearing the subtle scars that came from years of combat in zero-atmosphere environments. His presence at Omega-7 represented the evolution of human warfare beyond the boundaries of Earth's solar system. "Morning, Commander," Webb said without looking up from his holographic displays. "Overnight sensors picked up some interesting activity in the outer system. Long-range telemetry suggests we might have company coming." Chen moved to her station and activated the primary sensor array. The data streams painted a picture that made her pulse quicken with anticipation rather than fear. Multiple bogies were approaching from the edge of the system, their signatures unlike anything in Earth's database of known vessels. The ships were massive, easily dwarfing Earth's largest battle cruisers, and their energy outputs suggested weapons systems far beyond current human technology. "How long until they reach us?" Chen asked, her voice calm despite the magnitude of what they were facing. "Based on current trajectory and speed, approximately 14 hours, Webb replied. Their deceleration patterns suggest they're planning a direct approach to our position, no attempt at stealth or reconnaissance. Chen nodded, feeling a familiar sensation in her stomach. It wasn't fear. It was the same feeling a professional athlete experienced before a championship game. After years of theoretical training and simulated scenarios, they were about to face the real thing. This was exactly what they had been preparing for. She activated the facility's internal communication system. All personnel, this is Commander Chen. Report to your designated stations. We are moving to Alert Status Alpha. This is not a drill. Throughout the facility, 36 men and women responded with the kind of precision that came from months of intensive training. Each person knew exactly where they needed to be and what their responsibilities were. The mining equipment was quickly secured and replaced with weapons systems that had been hidden throughout the facility. The geological survey stations transformed into sensor arrays and defensive positions. What had appeared to be a sleepy research outpost became a fortress designed to withstand assault from forces beyond Earth's current understanding. Sergeant Major Elena Vasquez was the first to reach the armory, her hands moving with practiced efficiency as she began distributing weapons to the other personnel. Vasquez was a legend in special operations circles, having served in more classified missions than most people could imagine. She had volunteered for the Omega-7 program specifically because it represented the next evolution of human warfare. "What are we looking at, Sergeant Major?" asked Captain James Morrison, a former Force Recon Marine whose specialty was deep reconnaissance and long-range precision shooting. "Unknown hostiles, multiple vessels, superior technology," Vasquez replied, handing Morrison a weapon that looked like a standard assault rifle but incorporated technology that wouldn't be available to conventional forces for another decade. "Standard rules of engagement apply. We defend this position, gather intelligence, and make sure Earth knows what we're dealing with." Dr. Rebecca Foster, the facility's science officer and xenobiology specialist, was already at her station in the research center. Foster had spent her entire career preparing for this moment, first contact with hostile alien intelligence. Her job was to observe, analyze, and document everything about their visitors, from their technology to their tactics to their biology. This data would be invaluable for Earth's future defense planning. "Commander," Foster called out over the communication system, "I'm detecting some unusual energy patterns from the approaching vessels. Their power sources don't match any known fusion or antimatter signatures. We might be dealing with technology based on principles we haven't discovered yet." Chen processed this information while coordinating the facility's defensive preparations. The beauty of Omega-7's design was its adaptability. The facility had been constructed with modular components that could be reconfigured for different types of threats. Underground bunkers provided protection from orbital bombardment. Hidden weapon emplacements offered multiple fields of fire. Emergency protocols would allow the facility to operate independently for months if necessary. Private First Class Danny Kim was monitoring the communication arrays, his young face intense with concentration. Kim had been recruited for the program after demonstrating exceptional skills in electronic warfare and signal intelligence. At only 24, he was the youngest person ever assigned to Omega-7, but his abilities with advanced technology made him invaluable. "Commander, I'm picking up transmissions between the approaching vessels," Kim reported. "The signals are encrypted, but I'm getting some interesting patterns in their communication protocols. It's almost like they're coordinating an attack rather than attempting any kind of diplomatic contact." This was the confirmation Chen had expected. These weren't explorers or traders. They were raiders, possibly a military expedition that had discovered what they thought was an isolated human settlement. The irony wasn't lost on her. They had found exactly what they were looking for, just not in the way they expected. Major Alexandra Petrov was overseeing the medical station, ensuring that all combat medical supplies were properly distributed, and that the facility's small but advanced medical bay was prepared for casualties. Petrov was a combat medic with extensive experience in battlefield trauma surgery, but she had also trained extensively in xenobiology in case they encountered wounded aliens who needed to be kept alive for interrogation. "Medical stations are ready, Commander," Petrov reported. "I've got full surgical capabilities and enough supplies to handle extended combat operations. I'm also prepared to provide medical assistance to any alien prisoners we might take." The facility's dining hall had been transformed into a tactical planning center, with holographic displays showing the approaching alien fleet and the defensive capabilities of Omega-7. Chief Warrant Officer Robert Jackson, an explosives expert who had seen action in more conflicts than he cared to remember, was reviewing the facility's demolition charges and defensive mines. "If they try to land ground forces, they're going to get a very warm welcome," Jackson said with grim satisfaction. "I've got enough surprises buried around this facility to make their day very interesting." As the hours passed, the alien fleet continued its approach with relentless determination. Chen used the time to review everything they knew about their situation. Omega-7 was positioned in a strategically important location, serving as an early warning post for Earth's expanding sphere of influence. More importantly, it was a testing ground for new tactics and technologies that would be crucial in humanity's eventual expansion into the wider galaxy. The personnel at Omega-7 represented the absolute best of human military capability. Each person had been selected not just for their combat skills, but for their ability to adapt, improvise, and overcome challenges that had never been encountered before. They were prepared to face enemies using technology beyond their current understanding, fighting in environments that pushed the limits of human endurance. Captain Lisa Park was reviewing the facility's defensive positions from the observation deck. Park was a former Air Force pilot who had transitioned to special operations after losing her aircraft in a training accident. Her understanding of three-dimensional combat tactics made her invaluable in planning defenses against enemies who could attack from any direction. "The terrain around the facility provides good defensive positions," Park observed, "but these ships are big enough to simply bombard us from orbit. We're going to need to make them come down to our level if we want to have any chance of evening the odds." This was the challenge that every person at Omega-7 understood. They were facing enemies with superior technology and overwhelming firepower. Their only advantage was their training, their adaptability, and their willingness to fight with the kind of desperate creativity that had characterized human warfare throughout history. Corporal Maria Santos was checking the facility's power systems and backup generators. Santos was an engineer whose specialty was keeping complex systems operational under combat conditions. Her job was to ensure that Omega-7 could continue functioning even if the aliens attempted to disable their primary power sources. "All systems are running at optimal efficiency, Commander," Santos reported. "I've got backup power ready to go if they try to take out our primary reactors. We can maintain full operational capability for at least 72 hours on backup power alone." As the alien fleet entered the outer edge of the star system, their intentions became clear. The ships were arranging themselves in an attack formation, with the largest vessel taking point while smaller craft spread out to prevent any possible escape. Their approach was methodical and professional, suggesting that they had done this many times before. Chen gathered her senior staff in the command center for a final briefing. The holographic display showed the alien fleet in detail, highlighting their formation and estimated capabilities. Every person in the room understood that they were about to face a test unlike anything they had ever experienced. "Ladies and gentlemen," Chen began, her voice steady and confident, "we are about to make history. For the first time in human history, we are going to face hostile alien forces in direct combat. Everything we've trained for has led to this moment." She paused, looking at each face around the table. These were warriors who had already proven themselves in combat against human enemies. Now they would discover what it meant to fight for the survival of their entire species. "Our mission is threefold," Chen continued. "First, we defend this facility and gather intelligence about our enemies. Second, we make sure Earth learns everything possible about these aliens and their capabilities. Third, we show them that humanity is not an easy target." The alien fleet continued its approach, unaware that their intended victims were anything but helpless. In a few hours, they would discover that they had chosen to attack the one place in human space where their arrival was not just anticipated, but welcomed. The battle for Outpost Omega-7 was about to begin, and with it, humanity's introduction to a larger and more dangerous universe than they had ever imagined. The alien fleet settled into orbit around Kepler 442b with a kind of precision that spoke of countless similar operations. Commander Chen watched from the command center as their sensors provided increasingly detailed information about the vessels that had come calling. The largest ship measured nearly 3 kilometers in length, its hull a dark metallic gray that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Smaller vessels, each still massive by human standards, arranged themselves in a complex pattern that provided overlapping fields of fire while maintaining escape routes. Dr. Foster was practically vibrating with excitement as she analyzed the incoming data. "Commander, the energy signatures are incredible. Their propulsion systems are generating controlled gravitational fields. The implications for physics are staggering." "Save the scientific wonder for later, Doctor," Chen replied. "Right now I need to know how dangerous they are and how we can fight them." The answer came sooner than expected. A communication burst from the alien flagship filled the Outpost's receivers with a complex pattern of signals that Kim's equipment began analyzing immediately. The young specialist's fingers flew across his console as he worked to decode the transmission. "Commander, I'm getting a structured signal. It's definitely a communication attempt, but the language patterns are unlike anything in our databases." "Wait." Kim paused, his face showing concentration. "They're including mathematical constants and physical principles, universal concepts. They're trying to establish a common communication foundation." Chen felt a moment of hope. Perhaps this wouldn't end in violence after all. "Can you establish two-way communication?" "Working on it now, Commander. I'm using the same mathematical approach they initiated. If I can establish basic numerical concepts, we might be able to build a simple vocabulary." While Kim worked on the communication challenge, the rest of the facility continued their preparations. Sergeant Major Vasquez was conducting final weapons checks with a team that had trained for scenarios exactly like this. The weapons they carried were prototypes that incorporated the best of human military technology with theoretical improvements based on anticipated alien capabilities. "Remember, we don't know their anatomy or physiology," Vasquez reminded her team. "Standard center-of-mass shots might not be effective. We target what looks like sensory organs, joints, or obvious mechanical components. Adapt and overcome." Major Petrov was reviewing her medical protocols while simultaneously studying the limited biological data they could gather from the alien ship's energy signatures. "I'm detecting atmospheric leaks from their vessels that suggest an oxygen-nitrogen mixture similar to Earth's. If they're breathing something close to our atmosphere, their biology might have some familiar elements." Captain Morrison had positioned himself at the facility's long-range observation post, a concealed position that provided visual contact with the alien landing sites. Through his advanced scope, he could see the aliens beginning to deploy ground forces from their smaller vessels. The first clear images of their enemies were both fascinating and disturbing. "Commander, I have visual contact with hostile personnel," Morrison reported. "They're approximately human-sized but with some significant differences. Bipedal but with elongated limbs and what appears to be natural armor plating. They're carrying weapons that look energy-based rather than projectile." The aliens moved with a fluid grace that suggested they were comfortable in the planet's gravity. Their equipment was clearly advanced, with personal force fields shimmering around each individual and communication devices that appeared to be integrated into their natural armor. Most unsettling was their formation discipline. They moved like experienced soldiers who had done this many times before. Kim's voice cut through the command center chatter. "Commander, I've established basic communication. They're responding to mathematical concepts, and I think I've got simple affirmative and negative responses. They're asking about our defensive capabilities and our population size." "Tell them we're a peaceful research facility with minimal defensive capabilities," Chen ordered. It was partially true, and might buy them time to better assess their situation. "Transmitting now, Commander." Kim worked for several minutes, then looked up with a troubled expression. "They're not interested in peaceful contact. They're demanding immediate surrender and threatening to destroy the facility if we resist. I think they view us as a resource to be harvested rather than a civilization to be contacted." This was the confirmation Chen had expected but hoped to avoid. These weren't explorers or diplomats. They were raiders who had encountered what they thought was an easy target. The irony was almost amusing. They had found exactly what they were looking for, just not in the way they expected. Chief Jackson's voice came over the communication system. "Commander, I'm detecting seismic activity consistent with heavy machinery. They're setting up some kind of drilling or excavation equipment about 2 kilometers from our position. Whatever they want from this planet, they're planning to take it. Dr. Foster was studying the aliens' behavior patterns through the facility's sensors. Their approach is methodical and efficient. They're not showing any curiosity about us beyond assessing our threat level. This suggests they've encountered and subjugated other species before. We might be dealing with a society that views conquest as routine. The implications were chilling. If these aliens were part of a larger civilization that regularly conquered other species, then Earth faced a threat beyond anything humanity had ever imagined. The data they gathered here could be crucial for their species' survival. Captain Park was coordinating defensive positions from the tactical center. They're establishing a perimeter around our facility while simultaneously beginning resource extraction operations. They're treating us like we're already defeated. That might work to our advantage. They're not taking us seriously as a military threat. The alien ground forces numbered approximately 200 individuals, supported by what appeared to be automated military units and heavy weapons platforms. Their equipment was clearly superior to anything in Earth's current military arsenal, but their tactics suggested they were accustomed to facing opponents with primitive technology. Private Santos was monitoring the facility's power systems and had detected something interesting. "Commander, their scanning beams are interacting with our power grid in unexpected ways. I think their technology might be vulnerable to electromagnetic interference. If we overload certain systems at the right moment, we might be able to disrupt their equipment." This was exactly the kind of tactical intelligence that could make the difference between victory and defeat. Sergeant Major Vasquez immediately began developing strategies that could exploit this potential weakness. If we can take out their communications and sensor systems, we can level the playing field significantly. The hours passed slowly as both sides prepared for what seemed inevitable. The aliens continued their methodical approach, clearly confident that any resistance would be brief and ineffective. They had no way of knowing that their intended victims had spent years preparing for exactly this scenario. Dr. Foster made a discovery that changed everyone's understanding of their situation. While analyzing the aliens' atmospheric emissions, she detected trace elements that matched samples from contested mining sites in the outer colonies. "Commander, I think these are the same aliens who have been raiding human settlements in the frontier systems, the attacks that were attributed to pirates or rogue military units." The revelation added urgency to their mission. If these aliens had been attacking human settlements, then Omega-7's defense wasn't just about their own survival. It was about protecting every human in space. The intelligence they gathered here could prevent future attacks and save countless lives. Kim intercepted additional communications between the alien units, and his translation capabilities were improving. "Commander, they're referring to us as the soft species and discussing how easy previous conquests have been. I think they specialize in attacking civilizations they consider technologically inferior." Major Petrov was making final preparations in the medical bay when she made an observation that proved prophetic. "Commander, based on their behavior patterns and communication intercepts, I think these aliens have never encountered serious resistance from their victims. They might not be psychologically prepared for a real fight." This insight shaped Chen's strategic thinking. The aliens were clearly superior in technology and firepower, but they might be vulnerable to tactics they hadn't encountered before. Human military doctrine emphasized adaptability, creativity, and the willingness to use unconventional methods when facing superior forces. Lieutenant Colonel Webb was reviewing intelligence reports from Earth's outer colonies when he made a connection that confirmed their suspicions. "Commander, I'm seeing pattern matches between these aliens' technology signatures and unresolved attacks on mining operations in the Centauri system. They've been probing human defenses for months, possibly years." The tactical situation was becoming clear. The aliens had been conducting reconnaissance and small-scale attacks to assess human capabilities. They had concluded that humanity was a technologically inferior species suitable for conquest and resource extraction. Outpost Omega-7 was their first attempt at a major operation against what they believed was a typical human installation. Captain Morrison reported from his observation post that the aliens were beginning to move toward the facility itself. "Commander, they're advancing in a standard suppression formation. They expect minimal resistance and are moving to secure the facility rather than destroy it. They want to capture our technology and personnel intact. Chen made a decision that would determine the outcome of humanity's first interstellar war. Instead of continuing the deception that they were helpless researchers, she chose to reveal Omega-7's true nature in a way that would maximize the psychological impact on their enemies. All stations, this is Commander Chen. We are transitioning from Alert Status Alpha to Combat Status Red. All personnel are authorized to engage hostile forces with extreme prejudice. Remember your training. Show them what human warriors can accomplish. Throughout the facility, carefully concealed weapon systems came online. The mining equipment was jettisoned to reveal defensive positions that had been invisible from orbit. Personnel who had appeared to be civilian researchers transformed into some of the deadliest warriors humanity had ever produced. The aliens' first indication that something was wrong came when their advanced sensors detected energy signatures that didn't match their intelligence about human technology. Weapons systems that should have been impossible for a primitive species to develop were powering up throughout the facility. Dr. Foster was recording everything, knowing that this data would be invaluable for Earth's future defense planning. Commander, their formation is beginning to shift. They're detecting our actual capabilities and starting to reassess the situation. Kim intercepted increasingly urgent communications between alien units. Commander, they're expressing surprise and concern. I'm getting concepts that translate roughly as unexpected resistance and tactical reassessment required. I think we've got their attention. The moment of truth was approaching. For months, the personnel at Omega-7 had trained for this exact scenario. First contact with a hostile alien civilization that possessed superior technology. Their mission was to prove that technological superiority didn't automatically translate to military victory, especially when facing humans who refused to surrender. Sergeant Major Vasquez was positioning her team for the opening engagement when she made an observation that would prove crucial. Commander, they're hesitating. They came here expecting easy prey, and now they're facing something they didn't anticipate. We need to capitalize on their uncertainty. The alien advance had slowed as their commanders tried to understand what they were facing. Their intelligence had indicated a primitive species with limited defensive capabilities. Instead, they were detecting weapon systems and defensive positions that suggested a much more sophisticated military capability. Chen knew that the next few minutes would determine not just the fate of Omega-7, but possibly the future of human-alien relations. If they could inflict significant casualties on their attackers, it would send a message throughout the galaxy that humanity was not an easy target. All stations prepare for contact. Remember, we're not just fighting for our lives, we're fighting for our species. Make every shot count. The battle for Outpost Omega-7 was about to begin, and with it, humanity's introduction to the brutal realities of interstellar warfare. The first shot of humanity's first interstellar war came not from the advancing alien forces, but from Captain Morrison's concealed position overlooking their formation. His weapon, a railgun that accelerated projectiles to a significant fraction of light speed, sent a tungsten penetrator through the center of what appeared to be the aliens' command unit. The result was spectacular, not just the destruction of the target, but the complete disruption of the aliens' tactical formation as they scrambled to understand what had just happened. Direct hit on primary target, Morrison reported, his voice calm despite the magnitude of what he had just accomplished. Enemy formation is scattering. They weren't expecting that level of precision or penetrating power. The aliens' response was immediate but confused. Energy weapons began firing in multiple directions as they tried to locate the source of the attack. Their weapons were indeed impressive, carving through rock and metal with ease, but they were shooting at phantom targets while Morrison had already relocated to a secondary position. Commander Chen watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The aliens' superior technology meant nothing if they couldn't identify their targets. Chief Jackson, initiate perimeter defenses. Let's show them what a real welcome party looks like. The ground around the alien formation erupted in a carefully choreographed series of explosions. Jackson had spent months placing charges with the precision of an artist, creating overlapping fields of destruction that channeled the aliens into predetermined kill zones. The explosions weren't just meant to cause casualties. They were designed to herd their enemies into positions where Omega-7's defenders could engage them most effectively. Charges detonated successfully, Commander, Jackson reported. Enemy forces are being redirected toward grid sections 7 through 12. They're moving exactly where we want them. Dr. Foster was documenting everything from her position in the research center, her scientific mind analyzing the aliens' responses to human tactics. Commander, their reaction time to unexpected threats is slower than anticipated. They seem to rely heavily on their technology rather than individual initiative. This could be a significant tactical advantage. The observation proved accurate as the alien forces struggled to adapt to the rapidly changing battlefield. Their formations, which had been perfectly suited for suppressing primitive resistance, became liabilities when facing opponents who understood three-dimensional warfare and the importance of mobility. Sergeant Major Vasquez had positioned her team in concealed positions throughout the facility's defensive perimeter. Each fighter carried weapons specifically designed to exploit the vulnerabilities Santos had identified in the aliens' technology. When they opened fire, the results exceeded everyone's expectations. Electromagnetic pulse rounds are working better than projected, Vasquez reported. Enemy personal shields are failing after direct hits. Their armor is tough, but standard armor-piercing rounds are getting through. The aliens found themselves facing a type of warfare they had never encountered. Instead of massed formations trying to overwhelm superior technology, they were fighting individual warriors who moved independently, struck from unexpected angles, and disappeared before counterattacks could be organized. Every human fighter was making tactical decisions based on real-time battlefield assessment rather than following rigid predetermined plans. Private Kim was monitoring alien communications while simultaneously coordinating Omega-7's electronic warfare efforts. Commander, I'm detecting panic in their command structure. They're requesting reinforcements and reporting unexpected technological capabilities from human forces. I think we're exceeding their threat assessment parameters. The psychological impact of the human resistance was becoming as important as the physical damage being inflicted. The aliens had approached this operation expecting routine conquest of a primitive species. Instead, they were facing casualties and tactical confusion against opponents they had underestimated. Captain Park was coordinating air defense from her position in the facility's Combat Information Center. When alien aircraft attempted to provide close air support for their ground forces, they encountered defensive systems that had been specifically designed to counter advanced aerospace technology. Surface-to-air missiles are tracking and engaging enemy aircraft, Park reported. I'm showing direct hits on 3 enemy vessels. Their aircraft are more maneuverable than ours, but our missiles are faster and their countermeasures weren't designed for our guidance systems. The aliens were learning a harsh lesson about the dangers of underestimating an opponent. Their intelligence had been accurate about human technology levels, but had failed to account for human tactical innovation and the willingness to use unconventional strategies when facing superior forces. Major Petrov was treating the first human casualties when she made an observation that would prove crucial for the battle's outcome. Commander, I'm seeing energy weapon burns on our wounded, but the damage patterns suggest their weapons aren't optimized for human biology. They're causing significant trauma, but not the instant incapacitation they would expect. This meant that humans were surviving wounds that would have been immediately fatal to other species the aliens had conquered. The physiological differences that made humans unusual among Earth species, their endurance, their ability to function despite injury, their psychological resilience, were proving to be tactical advantages in interstellar warfare. Lieutenant Colonel Webb was analyzing the tactical situation from the command center when he identified a pattern in the aliens' behavior. Commander, they're trying to establish communication with their orbital support. I think they're planning to call in a bombardment rather than continue ground operations. This was the scenario Chen had been preparing for. Orbital bombardment would neutralize many of Omega-7's advantages, but the facility had been designed with this possibility in mind. All personnel, implement Protocol 7. We're going underground. The transformation was remarkable. Within minutes, the facility's above-ground structures became decoys, while the real defensive positions activated from concealed underground bunkers. The aliens found themselves shooting at empty buildings, while the actual human forces operated from positions they couldn't detect. Dr. Foster was coordinating the intelligence-gathering mission while simultaneously directing the facility's automated systems. "Commander, I'm getting detailed scans of their technology every time they fire their weapons. We're accumulating a database that will be invaluable for Earth's defense planning." The alien commander was facing a situation unlike anything in their experience. What should have been a routine conquest was becoming a costly military operation against opponents who seemed to anticipate their every move. More troubling, the humans were demonstrating technological capabilities that didn't match their intelligence reports. Chief Jackson was preparing the facility's final defensive measures when he detected something that changed the entire tactical situation. "Commander, I'm reading massive energy buildup from their flagship. I think they're preparing to glass the entire facility from orbit." Orbital bombardment was the alien solution to the unexpected resistance they were encountering. If they couldn't capture the facility intact, they would destroy it completely and settle for whatever resources they could extract from the planet's crust. It was a practical decision that reflected their experience with other conquered species. Chen had been hopping to avoid this scenario, but Omega-7 had been prepared for it from the beginning. "All stations, initiate emergency protocol Omega. We're going to show them why you never corner a dangerous animal." The emergency protocol represented the culmination of human military thinking about asymmetric warfare. If the aliens wanted to use their technological superiority to destroy the facility, the humans would demonstrate that superior technology could be turned against its users. Private Santos had been monitoring the aliens' power systems throughout the battle, analyzing their energy signatures and identifying potential vulnerabilities. "Commander, I've isolated their primary power distribution frequency. If we can generate a resonance cascade in their main reactor, we might be able to cause a catastrophic overload." The plan was audacious even by human standards. Using the facility's communications array, they would transmit a precisely tuned electromagnetic pulse that would interfere with the alien flagship's power systems. The transmission would have to penetrate their defenses and hit their reactor at exactly the right moment to cause maximum damage. Kim was working frantically to calculate the precise frequency and timing required. "Commander, I need 30 seconds of uninterrupted transmission time. The window for optimal effect is extremely narrow, but if we can hit it, their flagship should suffer massive system failures." The aliens were positioning their ships for orbital bombardment when they detected the energy buildup from Omega-7's communications array. Their sensors identified it as a transmission rather than a weapons system, so they initially ignored it as irrelevant to their tactical situation. Captain Morrison had repositioned to a location where he could observe the alien fleet directly. "Commander, their flagship is beginning orbital bombardment procedures. We have maybe 2 minutes before they start shooting." Chen made the decision that would define humanity's introduction to interstellar warfare. "Santos, transmit on my mark. Kim, monitor their power systems and adjust frequency as needed. All other stations, prepare for immediate evacuation to deep shelter positions." The electromagnetic pulse that erupted from Omega-7's communications array was precisely tuned to interfere with the aliens' reactor systems. The energy wave traveled at the speed of light, reaching the alien flagship before their sensors could even register it as a threat. The results were more dramatic than anyone had hoped. The alien flagship's reactor experienced a cascade failure that sent energy surges throughout their entire fleet. Systems that had functioned flawlessly for centuries suddenly began failing as human-generated interference disrupted their power distribution networks. "Direct hit on target," Santos reported. "I'm reading massive power failures throughout their fleet. Their flagship is showing signs of reactor instability, and their smaller vessels are losing primary systems." Dr. Foster was documenting everything when she realized they had achieved something unprecedented. "Commander, we've just demonstrated that human technology, while less advanced than theirs, can be used to exploit weaknesses in their systems. This proves that technological superiority isn't absolute." The alien fleet was experiencing something they had never encountered in their centuries of conquest: A primitive species had just used inferior technology to inflict serious damage on their most advanced warships. The psychological impact was as devastating as the physical damage. Captain Park was monitoring the tactical situation when she observed something that confirmed their success. "Commander, the alien fleet is changing formation. They're moving to defensive positions rather than continuing their attack. I think we've convinced them to reassess their tactical situation." The battle was far from over, but the humans at Omega-7 had achieved something that would echo throughout the galaxy. They had proven that humanity was not an easy target, regardless of any technological disadvantage. More importantly, they had gathered intelligence that would be crucial for Earth's defense against future alien incursions. Sergeant Major Vasquez was coordinating defensive positions when she made an observation that summarized the entire engagement. "Commander, they came here expecting to conquer sheep and found themselves fighting wolves. They're not going to make that mistake again." The aliens were learning that humans were unlike any species they had previously encountered. The combination of tactical innovation, psychological resilience, and the willingness to use unconventional strategies made humanity a dangerous opponent despite their technological limitations. As the immediate threat of orbital bombardment receded, Chen began planning the next phase of the operation. The aliens were retreating, but they would likely return with reinforcements and better intelligence about human capabilities. Omega-7's mission was far from complete. The alien retreat gave Omega-7's defenders a temporary respite, but Commander Chen knew better than to assume the battle was over. Through their damaged sensors, the aliens were undoubtedly analyzing everything that had happened, trying to understand how a supposedly primitive species had inflicted such devastating losses on their technologically superior forces. The real test would come when they returned with countermeasures. "All stations, status report," Chen ordered as the facility emerged from its emergency protocols. The transformation was remarkable. Within minutes, defensive positions that had appeared to be empty ruins revealed themselves to contain fully functional weapons systems and personnel who had weathered the aliens' counterattack without significant casualties. Dr. Foster was the first to respond, her excitement barely contained despite the gravity of their situation. "Commander, the intelligence we've gathered is extraordinary. We have detailed sensor readings on their weapons, propulsion systems, and defensive technologies. More importantly, we've identified systematic weaknesses in their tactical doctrine." The data streaming through Omega-7 systems represented humanity's first comprehensive analysis of hostile alien technology. Every weapon fired, every maneuver executed, every communication intercepted had been recorded and analyzed. The information would be invaluable for Earth's defense planning, assuming they could survive to transmit it. Lieutenant Colonel Webb was coordinating damage assessment when he made a discovery that changed their understanding of the tactical situation. "Commander, our electromagnetic attack didn't just damage their primary systems. It appears to have disrupted some kind of networked communication system. Their fleet coordination has degraded significantly." This revelation explained why the aliens had retreated so precipitously. They hadn't just suffered physical damage. They had lost the technological integration that made their advanced weapons systems effective. Without their networked coordination, their individual ships were operating independently, dramatically reducing their tactical efficiency. Private Kim was monitoring alien communications when he intercepted transmissions that confirmed Webb's assessment. "Commander, I'm detecting increasing communication traffic between alien vessels, but it's all point-to-point rather than networked. They're trying to reestablish coordination manually, which suggests their automated systems are still compromised." Sergeant Major Vasquez was conducting weapons maintenance when she made an observation that would prove prophetic. "Commander, look at how they responded to our attacks. Every move was by the book, textbook responses to predetermined threat scenarios. They're not adapting or improvising. They're following standard operating procedures that don't account for our tactics." This insight revealed a fundamental weakness in the aliens' approach to warfare. Their technological superiority had made them dependent on predetermined responses to tactical situations. When faced with innovative human strategies that didn't fit their expected parameters, they defaulted to standard procedures that proved inadequate. Major Petrov was treating wounded personnel when she made a medical observation that had strategic implications. Commander, the alien blood samples I've collected show some interesting characteristics. Their physiology suggests they're adapted for low-stress environments. They might not be psychologically equipped for prolonged combat operations. The physiological data supported what they had observed about alien behavior during the battle. While their technology was superior, the aliens themselves showed signs of stress and confusion when faced with unexpected tactical challenges. They appeared to be a species that relied on overwhelming technological advantage rather than individual combat effectiveness. Captain Morrison was studying the alien positions through his scope when he identified something that confirmed their tactical assessment. Commander, they're establishing defensive positions rather than preparing for another attack. Their formations are designed to repel assault rather than conduct operations. I think they're waiting for reinforcements. This gave Chen time to implement the next phase of Omega-7's mission. While defending the facility was important, their primary objective was to gather intelligence and transmit it to Earth. The aliens' temporary retreat provided an opportunity to accomplish both goals. Kim, prepare a data burst transmission to Earth Command. Include everything we've learned about alien technology, tactics, and vulnerabilities. Use the emergency quantum entanglement communicator. We need this information to reach Earth regardless of what happens to us. The quantum communicator was Omega-7's most classified piece of equipment, a prototype that could transmit information instantaneously across any distance. Its use would reveal capabilities that Earth preferred to keep secret, but the intelligence they had gathered was too valuable to risk losing. Chief Jackson was analyzing the aliens' defensive positions when he identified an opportunity that could change the tactical balance. Commander, their perimeter is designed to prevent escape rather than conduct offensive operations. They're treating us like a contained threat rather than an active enemy. That gives us options they're not anticipating. Dr. Foster was reviewing the battle recordings when she made a discovery that explained the aliens' tactical limitations. Commander, I think I understand why they're so rigid in their responses. Their technology appears to be integrated with their biology in ways that enhance certain capabilities while limiting others. They might be physically incapable of the kind of adaptive thinking that characterizes human warfare. The implications were staggering. If the aliens were biologically integrated with their technology, they would be extremely effective at tasks their systems were designed for, but potentially helpless when facing situations outside their technological parameters. It was the ultimate expression of overspecialization. Captain Park was monitoring the facility's defensive systems when she detected something that indicated the aliens were preparing for a different kind of attack. Commander, I'm picking up energy signatures consistent with some kind of scanning or analysis equipment. They're not preparing to attack. They're trying to figure out what we are. This was both an opportunity and a danger. The aliens' scientific analysis might reveal Omega-7's true nature as a military facility, but it also meant they were focusing on understanding rather than destruction. Chen decided to use their curiosity against them. All stations, implement Deception Protocol Beta. We're going to give them something interesting to analyze while we prepare our real response. The Deception Protocol involved creating false signals and equipment signatures that would mislead alien analysis. While they studied phantom technologies, the humans would be preparing strategies that would exploit their enemies' growing overconfidence in their analytical capabilities. Private Santos was monitoring the aliens' scanning attempts when she discovered something that could change everything. Commander, their analysis beams are interacting with our power systems in predictable patterns. I think I can use their own scanning technology to overload their equipment. The concept was audacious, using the aliens' analysis beams as weapons against their own systems. By modulating Omega-7's power output in specific patterns, Santos could create resonance effects that would damage the aliens' scanning equipment and potentially their analytical systems. Lieutenant Colonel Webb was coordinating intelligence analysis when he made a connection that revealed the larger strategic situation. Commander, based on their communication patterns and behavior, I don't think this is a military expedition. I think this is a scientific mission that turned into a combat operation when they encountered unexpected resistance. This explained the aliens' confusion and rigid responses. They were researchers and technicians who had been equipped for scientific analysis and resource extraction, not military conquest. Their weapons and defensive systems were designed to suppress primitive resistance, not conduct warfare against organized military forces. Dr. Foster was studying alien behavioral patterns when she made an observation that confirmed Webb's assessment. Commander, their stress responses and communication patterns suggest they're operating outside their normal parameters. They're improvising rather than following established procedures, which explains their tactical confusion. The realization that they were fighting alien scientists rather than alien soldiers changed Chen's strategic thinking. Scientists would be methodical and analytical, but they would also be cautious and risk-averse. They could be manipulated through careful presentation of tactical situations. Sergeant Major Vasquez was positioning her forces for the next engagement when she made a tactical observation that would prove crucial. Commander, if these are scientists rather than soldiers, they'll try to minimize casualties and preserve specimens for analysis. We can use their scientific curiosity against them. The plan that emerged was unlike anything in conventional military doctrine. Instead of trying to defeat the aliens through direct confrontation, they would manipulate their scientific interests to create tactical opportunities. The humans would become predators using the aliens' own curiosity as bait. Captain Morrison was observing alien positions when he detected movement that indicated they were preparing for a different kind of operation. Commander, they're deploying equipment that looks more like scientific instruments than weapons. I think they're planning some kind of detailed analysis of our facility and personnel. This was the opportunity Chen had been waiting for. All stations, prepare for Operation Mousetrap. We're going to show them exactly what they want to see and then demonstrate why curiosity can be dangerous. Operation Mousetrap was designed to exploit the aliens' scientific methodology. By presenting them with apparently vulnerable targets that contained hidden threats, the humans would turn the aliens' analytical approach into a tactical liability. Kim was preparing false signals for the alien analysts when he intercepted communications that confirmed their assessment. Commander, they're discussing specimen collection and technological analysis. They want to capture human personnel and equipment for detailed study. The aliens' scientific approach meant they would try to minimize damage while maximizing information gathering. This made them predictable in ways that military opponents would not be. Chen could use their scientific protocols to anticipate their actions and prepare appropriate responses. Major Petrov was preparing medical facilities for a different kind of operation when she made a suggestion that would prove brilliant. Commander, if they want specimens, we should give them some. Volunteers with concealed weapons and communication devices could provide intelligence while appearing to be captured personnel. The concept of deliberately allowing capture was contrary to every military instinct, but it made perfect sense when dealing with alien scientists. Volunteers could gather intelligence about alien technology and facilities while appearing to be helpless prisoners. Chief Jackson was preparing special equipment when he realized the full implications of their situation. Commander, if these aliens are scientists, they're probably recording everything for analysis by their parent civilization. Our actions here will be studied by their military specialists. We need to be careful about what we reveal. This added another dimension to their mission. They needed to defeat the immediate threat while avoiding revealing capabilities that would be useful to alien military analysts. Every action had to consider both tactical effectiveness and strategic intelligence implications. Dr. Foster was analyzing the tactical situation when she made an observation that summarized their opportunity. Commander, we're not just fighting for our survival. We're conducting humanity's first psychological warfare operation against an alien species. How we handle this will determine how other alien civilizations view humanity as a potential threat or target. The battle for Omega-7 had become something larger than anyone had anticipated. It was humanity's introduction to galactic politics, conducted through the medium of interstellar warfare. The outcomes would influence human-alien relations for generations to come. Operation Mousetrap began at dawn on the second day, with carefully orchestrated displays of human vulnerability that were designed to appeal to alien scientific curiosity. Commander Chen watched from the command center as her personnel executed a deception that would have impressed military strategists throughout human history. To external observers, Omega-7 appeared to be a damaged facility with scattered survivors trying to organize a defense with inadequate resources. The reality was far different. Every desperate, defensive position was carefully planned. Every panicked communication was scripted to provide information that would lead the aliens toward predetermined conclusions. Most importantly, every vulnerable target contained surprises that would demonstrate the difference between human science and human warfare. Dr. Foster was coordinating the deception from her research station, using her understanding of alien psychology to predict their responses. "Commander, they're taking the bait. I'm detecting increased scanning activity focused on our damaged power systems and abandoned defensive positions. They're preparing to collect samples and specimens." The alien approach was methodical and scientific, exactly what the humans had anticipated. Teams of alien researchers approached the facility with scanning equipment and specimen collection devices, supported by minimal security forces. They were confident that human resistance had been effectively neutralized. Sergeant Major Vasquez was positioned with Volunteer Team Alpha, personnel who would allow themselves to be captured, while carrying concealed weapons and recording devices. "Commander, alien capture team is approaching our position, initiating surrender protocol in 30 seconds. The surrender was performed with Academy Award-worthy acting. Vasquez and her team emerged from their positions with hands raised, weapons discarded, displaying exactly the kind of defeated behavior the aliens expected from conquered species. The aliens' response confirmed every assumption about their scientific priorities. "They're scanning us rather than restraining us," Vasquez reported through her concealed communicator. "Medical analysis, biological sampling, and what appears to be psychological evaluation. They're treating us like laboratory specimens rather than prisoners of war." This provided unprecedented intelligence about alien scientific methods and biological analysis capabilities. More importantly, it placed human observers inside alien operations, where they could gather information about technology, procedures, and vulnerabilities that would be impossible to obtain through external observation. Captain Morrison was observing the alien research teams through his scope when he identified the perfect target for the next phase of the operation. "Commander, I have visual contact with what appears to be their senior researcher. Heavy security detail, advanced analysis equipment, and communication devices that look like command and control systems." The alien senior researcher was Dr. Zethkar, a biologist who had spent his career studying the species conquered by the Zephyrian Collective. His analysis of human specimens would determine how his civilization viewed humanity's threat potential. Chen knew that his conclusions would influence alien policy for generations to come. "All teams, prepare for Phase 2 of Operation Mousetrap. We're going to give Dr. Zethkar a lesson in human biology that he'll never forget." Phase 2 began with apparently accidental weapons discharges from the facility's damaged defensive systems. The energy beams were precisely targeted to miss the aliens while demonstrating that human weapons were still partially functional. The aliens responded exactly as predicted, moving to capture and analyze the weapon systems. Chief Jackson was monitoring the aliens' approach to his specially prepared weapon malfunction when he smiled grimly. "Commander, they're examining the electromagnetic pulse generator. In approximately 30 seconds, they're going to get a very educational demonstration of human engineering principles." The explosion was visible from orbit. The aliens' analysis equipment had triggered a carefully prepared chain reaction that destroyed not only their scanning devices, but also several of their transportation vehicles. More importantly, it demonstrated that human technology could be dangerous even when it appeared to be damaged or non-functional. Dr. Zethkar's response to the explosion revealed crucial information about alien psychology. Instead of withdrawing or calling for military support, he ordered increased analysis of human technology. The destruction had convinced him that humans possessed technological capabilities that required immediate study. Private Kim was monitoring alien communications when he intercepted a transmission that confirmed their strategy's success. "Commander, their senior researcher is reporting unprecedented technological sophistication masked by primitive infrastructure. He's requesting extended research time and additional specialist personnel." This was exactly what Chen had hoped to achieve. By presenting the aliens with technological puzzles that contradicted their initial assessments, They were encouraging deeper investigation that would reveal more about alien capabilities while exposing their research teams to additional risks. Major Petrov was treating simulated wounds on captured personnel when she received intelligence that changed their understanding of the entire situation. Through her concealed communicator, Vasquez reported that the aliens were discussing permanent research installations and long-term specimen studies. Commander, they're not planning a quick extraction. They want to establish a permanent research facility here to study human technology and biology. Dr. Zethkar believes he's discovered a species that represents a new evolutionary paradigm. The implications were staggering. If the aliens established a permanent presence at Omega-7, they would eventually discover its true nature as Earth's premier military training facility. More importantly, they would gain access to classified technologies and tactical information that could compromise humanity's defense capabilities throughout the galaxy. Chen made a decision that would define the remainder of the engagement. All teams, we are transitioning to Phase 3. It's time to show Dr. Zethkar what humans are really capable of when we stop pretending to be something we're not. Phase 3 of Operation Mousetrap was designed to reveal Omega-7's true nature in a way that would maximize psychological impact on the alien researchers. The transformation began with the damaged facility suddenly displaying full operational capabilities as concealed systems came online throughout the complex. Captain Park was coordinating the revelation from the Combat Information Center. All defensive systems are operational, Commander. We're showing them weapon emplacements, sensor arrays, and communication systems that didn't exist in their previous scans. I think we've got their attention. The aliens' response to the facility's transformation was exactly what human psychologists had predicted. Instead of recognizing the threat and withdrawing, they became more determined to understand how humans had concealed such sophisticated technology. Their scientific curiosity was overriding their survival instincts. Dr. Foster was analyzing alien behavioral patterns when she made an observation that confirmed their tactical assessment. Commander, they're exhibiting classic research fixation. The more contradictory data they encounter, the more determined they become to solve the puzzle. They're ignoring obvious danger signs because they're focused on the scientific mystery. This psychological vulnerability was something human military strategists had identified as a potential weakness in scientifically advanced civilizations. Species that relied heavily on analysis and predetermined responses might be manipulated through careful presentation of confusing or contradictory information. Lieutenant Colonel Webb was monitoring the tactical situation when he detected signs that the aliens' military commanders were beginning to understand the real situation. Commander, I'm picking up transmissions between their research teams and their fleet command. Some of their military personnel are expressing concern about the tactical situation. The conflict between alien scientific and military perspectives provided an opportunity that Chen was prepared to exploit. By increasing the apparent scientific value of the facility while simultaneously demonstrating its military capabilities, they could create decision paralysis in the alien command structure. Sergeant Major Vasquez was still with the captured personnel when she reported something that confirmed their strategy's effectiveness. Commander, Dr. Zethkar is arguing with his military escort about operational priorities. The military wants to withdraw, but he's insisting that the research opportunity is too valuable to abandon. The alien research leader's determination to continue his studies despite obvious risks demonstrated the kind of scientific tunnel vision that could be tactically exploited. Chen ordered the implementation of Phase 4, which would demonstrate the full extent of human military capabilities while maintaining the illusion that Omega-7 was primarily a research facility. Phase 4 began with the carefully orchestrated escape of the captured human personnel. Vasquez and her team used concealed weapons and explosives to break out of alien custody while simultaneously gathering intelligence about alien security procedures and facility layouts. Breakout successful, Commander, Vasquez reported. We've neutralized alien guards and secured their research materials. Dr. Zethkar's personal analysis devices contain detailed information about their technology and research priorities. The alien response to the human breakout revealed the fundamental difference between their scientific and military mindsets. While the military personnel immediately moved to recapture the escaped humans, Dr. Zethkar was more interested in analyzing how they had concealed weapons and explosives from advanced scanning systems. Captain Morrison was providing overwatch for the breakout operation when he identified an opportunity that would demonstrate human tactical superiority. "Commander, alien response teams are following predictable search patterns. They're using technology to track us instead of tactical thinking. I can neutralize their entire search operation with coordinated precision fire." The engagement that followed would be studied by military analysts throughout the galaxy. Human forces that had appeared to be scattered and disorganized suddenly demonstrated coordination and tactical sophistication that caught the aliens completely unprepared. Every movement was planned, every position was calculated, and every shot was precisely targeted for maximum psychological as well as physical impact. Dr. Foster was recording everything when she realized they had achieved something unprecedented in interstellar warfare. "Commander, we've just demonstrated that human military doctrine can defeat technologically superior forces through superior tactics, adaptability, and psychological manipulation. This changes everything about how alien civilizations will view humanity." The battle's climax came when Dr. Zethkar finally understood what he was facing. As human forces systematically dismantled alien positions using tactics that no other conquered species had ever employed, he transmitted a message to his fleet command that would echo throughout the galaxy. Kim intercepted and translated the transmission. "This is not a primitive species suitable for conquest. These humans have deliberately deceived us about their capabilities. They are apex predators disguised as prey animals. Recommend immediate withdrawal and reclassification of humanity as a Category 5 threat." The alien fleet began withdrawing within hours of Dr. Zethkar's transmission. But Chen knew that the real victory wasn't tactical, it was strategic. The intelligence gathered during the engagement, combined with the psychological impact on alien observers, would influence human-alien relations throughout the galaxy. "All stations, prepare final intelligence burst to Earth Command," Chen ordered. "Include everything we've learned about alien technology, psychology, and tactical vulnerabilities. This information will be crucial for humanity's future defense planning." The quantum communicator transmitted terabytes of data instantaneously across the galaxy, providing Earth's military and scientific communities with humanity's first comprehensive analysis of hostile alien capabilities. More importantly, it included psychological profiles and tactical assessments that would be invaluable for future engagements. As the alien fleet disappeared into hyperspace, Commander Chen gathered her personnel for a final briefing. The battle for Outpost Omega-7 was over, but its implications were just beginning to be understood. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have accomplished something unprecedented in human history. We have proven that humanity can not only survive contact with hostile alien civilizations, but can defeat them despite significant technological disadvantages. More importantly, we have sent a message throughout the galaxy that humanity is not an easy target." The message would indeed resonate throughout the galaxy. Within months, other alien civilizations would learn about the humans who had defeated the Zephyrian Collective's research expedition through superior tactics and psychological warfare. Some species would view humanity as a potential threat to be eliminated. Others would see them as valuable allies against common enemies. But all would understand that humans were unlike any species they had encountered before. A young civilization that combined technological innovation with tactical creativity and the kind of stubborn determination that turned defensive battles into strategic victories. The personnel of Outpost Omega-7 had done more than defend a remote facility. They had established humanity's reputation in a galaxy full of predators, demonstrating that Earth's children were ready to take their place among the stars as equals rather than victims. Dr. Foster made the final log entry. "End of engagement report. Human casualties minimal. Alien casualties significant. Strategic impact. Humanity has announced its presence to the galaxy on our own terms. Recommendation: prepare for increased alien contact, both hostile and diplomatic. The age of human isolation is over." The battle was won, but the war for humanity's place in the galaxy had only just begun.